Hi, I'm Bob Hasegawa, your state senator from the 11th Legislative District, and we're here with another bi-weekly update, excuse me. So I just wanted to get you up to speed on what's been going on here in the first part of the session. It's starting to pick up now. The first couple of weeks started off pretty slow because the new majority was trying to get their feet under them. We have now, our committees are meeting fairly regularly, although the agendas are still somewhat askew, but we seem to be getting some work done. I've had several bills have hearings this week, which I'm pretty excited about. The first one was about continuing a pilot program that I started back in 2005, which allowed less than half-time students in community and technical colleges and four-years to have access to the state need grant. The reason that this is important is because, the state does subsidize post-secondary education, not as heavily as we would like to see. It's been dropping drastically, and so too much of that burden is falling on students now through tuition. But oftentimes, when students are on state need grant, life gets in the way. A parent may get sick, their child may get sick, they may have to drop below half-time attendance or credit load in order just to stay in school. So rather than forcing them to drop out of school when life gets in the way, this allows them to stay in school. And so the state, your investment in these people's education doesn't get lost by them having to drop out of school. So it's been a very good program, and it's been pilot status for a couple of sessions now. We're finally, I think, going to try and get it permanent. We'll see. I also had a hearing on my state bank bill, which we call creating the Washington Investment Trust. That's Senate Bill 5029. You can get to the bill history page by going to www.leg.wa.gov, clicking in the left column where it says bill information, and then just typing in 5029, and you'll find out everything you need to know about the bill. What the concept is all about is to create an infrastructure bank that's owned by us, the people of the state of Washington. So in essence, we can develop our own infrastructure by borrowing from ourselves. So when we repay ourselves, we're actually making money for ourselves. What a concept, rather than using bond brokers and Wall Street banks to do our banking for us. It's a very creative solution to our infrastructure needs. And there is one model in the country that has been doing this all along. It's in North Dakota. So if you can Google Bank of North Dakota, you'll see that it has almost a 100-year history of success in helping North Dakotans meet their needs. I also had hearings on ways to raise revenue for our state on several bills that I had. These were heard yesterday in Ways and Means. I believe that, there's no question, everybody agrees that we have in Washington State the most regressive tax structure in the country. And by regressive, we mean to say that those who can least afford to pay taxes pay the most, and those who best afford to pay taxes and who get most out of our society pay the least. That's totally upside down in most civilized countries. So the bills that I have tried to open up doors to see how we can reform our tax structure so that it is more fair to working families. So we took a look at a bill that I had that eliminates the property tax exemption on stocks and bonds and treasury bills, those types of things, still maintaining $1 million deduction. So they would only pay property tax on those amounts of stocks and bonds that they own over $1 million. That seemed to be met with some mocking by the Republican counterparts on the Ways and Means Committee. But I think it's a fair way to look at having those who are getting the most out of the system put the most back into the system again. I had a hearing on another bill which we created a Citizens Tax Commission to review tax loopholes, basically, and to make recommendations on what we should do about them. So that commission has been around for about 6 or 7 years now. I remember voting to create that commission back in my early years in the legislature. The problem is that the commission does all of this work in studying these tax loopholes, and the legislature just regularly ignores their work. So I tried to compile their work over the years to put them into one bill just so that we can review them and have a chance to say, yes, you did good work, we agree with you, let's take your recommendation or not. That also met with quite a bit of mockery from my Republican counterparts on the Ways and Means Committee, so I'm sorry to say that. Finally, I had another bill that was heard yesterday in Ways and Means that eliminated the B&O tax exemption for investment income by non-financial firms. That is to say, big corporations have big investments that they have making money for them. Well, back in the day, the exemption was created because they felt that the B&O tax should only apply to a company's core business. Well, anymore, big corporations have figured financial investments into their profit business plan. So I don't believe it qualifies for that tax exemption anymore. So I think that and there again, we have a $1 million deduction. So corporations would only pay the B&O tax on the investment income in amounts over $1 million. I think that that's totally fair as well. The reason that we have to start looking at revenue is because we have to raise money for education. I personally am deeply involved with the higher ed side, in which we've seen tuition just skyrocketing, and we need to figure out good ways to keep tuition levels down. But the Supreme Court of the state of Washington has also told us that we are not meeting our constitutional mandate requirement to fully fund basic education. We're going to have to find solutions to these problems before we get out of here on the last day of session, which we call sine die. So stay tuned. There's going to be big fights around this in the upcoming session. So anyway, I've talked too long. It's been nice chatting with you. I'll see you on my next video update. And again, I'm Bob Hasegawa, your state senator from the 11th Legislative District. Thanks for watching.